Welcome back to an exciting and important video from Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. So, in the last video, we talked to Hugh and we outlined some of his business desires and we discussed some of his thoughts about the future. So, let's take a second look at these things that Tom Buchholz calls endeavor themes and endeavor elements. So the basic themes are do, think, and be. Do, think, and be. Now, this is, I like to connect these ideas with Stephen Covey's ideas because Stephen Covey's ideas are so well known and they're so simple. And then with Tom's work, we will build on some of those ideas and explain how those basic concepts can develop into a bigger framework of ideas. Okay, so remember, do, to create effects, that is the end. That is the goal, beginning with the end in mind. And first things first, that means you should form some kind of agenda. All right, we need to think. And of course, what are we going to use to do the things we want to do and to make the plans that we want to make? We have to use our potential. Okay, so if you can see down here, we got this little happy face, we have some arrows, we have some lightning, and we have some paper. I need to ask Tom what those mean. Potential. Let's just say it means potential. All right, now you may be wondering, so when you look at my Create Crucial Insight page, so today we're going to talk about how to use direct outcomes checklists to develop useful training tools. All right. Now, when we click into Space Between Ideas, okay, so here's my one of my checklist sets. We have the YouTube channel, Space Between Ideas. Now, you may have seen, so we have two things going on here. So one thing, we have this state progress checklist. All right, and in an earlier video, I explained how reuses and outcomes, that's the beginning with the end in mind. All right, so when we're making our goals, we're making our outcomes, which mean the thing that we want to accomplish, and our reuses. It means after we've accomplished our objective, what's the next thing in the future? All right, so imagine you have a bunch of kids and they want to have a lemonade stand. All right, so their goal is to get the lemons and the sugar and the water and the pitcher and the table and make a sign and put an advertisement in the newspaper and put some signs down the street. All right, so those are all of the scenarios and the plans. You're creating an action plan. The outcome is they want to make money. They want to serve people lemonade. They want to earn money. What's the reuse? Like, why do they need that money in the first place? How can they also use those experiences to provide different services in the future? What are some of the relationships that they've created by offering this product to the public? And also, well, if we look at reuses, obviously, as I've outlined earlier, we're going into synergies. So not only are we talking about the customers that these kids are going to have, but we're also talking about the providers. All right, so we have the clients, the people who drink the lemonade. We also have the peers, so that's mom and dad helping along the way, and maybe some friends who are working together to sell that lemonade, but also the providers. Where did they get the lemons from? Where did they get the sugar from? Is it possible to develop that relationship in the future? Now, you may be like lost, like, I don't understand the structure, or like, what are we talking about here? Like, where did you get, okay, so when we go up here to the endeavor elements, all right, so here it's the endeavor elements: do great, think well, and be able. So how do those endeavor elements connect with this state progress checklist? All right, so let's go to Tom's book, back to Tom's book. All right, so we have create effects, form agendas, and shape potential. Now, if we scroll down through his book, we find this figure number 13. All right, so you see you have effects here. That's create effects. That's the goal that you want to achieve. Then you have your agendas here. Those are your plans. Then you have your potential down here. You have 1, 2, 3. Now, how does that connect with this checklist? Well, as you can see, you have reuses, outcomes, actions. That's right here. All right, so that's foster reuses, recognize outcomes, perform actions. All right, so this row here of ideas, this is the state progress checklist. Okay, so if you're trying to achieve your goals, when you set your goals, they connect to these three ideas: foster reuses, recognize outcomes, perform actions. When you're forming agendas, they connect to choose plans, build scenarios, make assumptions. And when you look at this page, it's also those three things, okay? So you have plans, scenarios, and assumptions. Finally, at the bottom we have potential, guide interactions, excite motivations, and involve resources. So these endeavor elements, they take you one step further than Stephen Covey by saying you gather your potential, you create your agendas, and you form your agendas, and then you can create those effects. And then in addition, now it goes many more steps than Stephen Covey's ideas, because the effects can include the reuses as well as the outcomes. And of course, you have to perform the actions. And when you begin with the end in mind, you have to, when you do first things first, you need to make assumptions. You need to build the scenarios, and then you need to choose the plans. But you also need to understand your potential. So that means you need to guide your interactions. That's working with other people. Excite motivations. Get those people excited, and involve resources. Now, now you understand this column, and you also understand the state progress checklist. Now, next to each one of these state progress checklist items, so next to foster reuses, you have the state synergies checklist. Next to recognize outcomes, you have the state impact checklist. Next to perform actions, you have the state progress checklist. All right, and I've just reordered those things, or I've kept the order actually, and I put them in these three areas. All right, so like you could see on that other page, under foster reuses, we have the state synergies checklist. All right, so what's next? Now today, I wanted to show you, so with Hugh, we had this interview yesterday with Hugh. I hope you had the opportunity to see this interview. So we have to take the next step with Hugh and figure out what to discuss and how to help him fill out those checklists. Now, one potential path to go is we start at the top. Where's Hugh's checklist? All right, here's Hugh's checklist. All right, so with Hugh, what we can do is we start at the top at reuses. So we discussed reuses last time with state synergies. And then next time we can talk about outcomes. Now with outcomes, we can click on this, it's called state impact. We can discuss that checklist, and we can discuss the outcomes that he's discussed already, put them in the framework of state impact. Now, before we move forward with Hugh, I wanted to create this video today to discuss this idea. Okay, so how can we use direct outcomes checklists to develop useful training tools? Now, this idea came from a client discussion that I had this week. So I have a really interesting client, really bright guy, and he is a department head. And he asked me, how can I use these Create Crucial Insight ideas to help train my staff? And if you look in the About section of the Space Between Ideas YouTube channel, you'll see that one of the methods for using these checklists is to create tools to train staff. And together, we were able to create a new tool. Now, the tool, it came from a few different ideas. All right, so this is an earlier video. You can see the secret behind motivation and success in an earlier video on the Space Between Ideas YouTube channel. And of course, you want your staff to move from laid back to diligent. Now, sometimes your staff, they won't know what to do exactly. They need your direction. That's why they are your employee, you are the boss. That's why you are the department head, they are your staff, because you are supposed to know the way. If we go back to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, remember the first habit is to be proactive. Now, being proactive, it means, like, one way to think about being proactive is in comparison to being reactive. All right, so imagine you go into a meeting and your boss is like, okay, what's the plan? What are you going to do? What's going on? And you say, well, I didn't think about it yet. So I need to now react to what he's saying and go figure out what to do. Right now, the whole world is facing trials and problems that we've never seen before. And so now we have the opportunity for some of us to be proactive, to think ahead, to get ahead, to capture market share and to find new opportunities that didn't exist before. And if we can move faster than our competitors, of course, we are going to win the prize. All right, so some people are at this point right here. So we talked about this state styles, in a previous video, and some people are doing nothing. It's called nil. They're doing nothing. And most of us, if we've started working already, it means we're probably in haphazard. We're not sure what to do. We're trying a little bit of this. We're trying a little bit of that. And so I'm inviting you today to move to tentative. All right, let's start to look at a process. One possible process to help your employees move from laid back to diligent. All right, move back from recollecting. Okay, so they got punched and they're like, whoa, what's going on? Whoa, whoa, whoa. And we need to move them up to striving. Give them a tool that they can use immediately to push forward. Now, there was an interesting video I saw recently. An interesting video from Tom Wheelwright. All right, now Tom Wheelwright is an accountant. And here it says Tom discusses getting paid as a tax professional during the crisis. And it's an extremely interesting video because he actually taps into this idea that Tom has introduced through his checklists. All right, and what is that idea? All right, so we go into this set of checklists, and we're thinking about reuses. All right, so how can we help our clients right now? Now, of course, we can also help our peers and also our providers, but the video that Tom Wheelwright created, he's discussing his clients. How can he serve his clients? And, maybe as you watch these videos, you're like, oh, come on, Blaine, these checklists, they're really hard, they're difficult to understand. There's like 100 different things I have to think about, and I haven't been able to understand the framework. Like, just give me a tool. Give me something I can use right now. And this actually would be useful for when you're working with your staff, because it's difficult for you to go to your staff and say, okay, I want you to understand the state progress checklist. There's 9 elements. Understand each of them. And then we're going to start with reuses. And then within reuses, we're going to talk about state synergies. And then within state synergies, there's clients, peers, providers, past and future, and other students. And the staff is going, what are you talking about? The reason you're the boss is because you're smart and you understand what's going on. All right, so just give me something I can follow. Give me something concrete. And Tom's video is interesting because he made a decision about what to do so that he can help his clients. All right, now he points out He said that in the past, we believed that 90% of our business is technical. All right, so he's an accountant and he's helping people with the technical um, aspects of doing accounting. How do you do this? How do you do that? For example, right now in the United States, there was a new law passed and it enables companies to take advantage of a program to get some money. Now, imagine, what he discusses, he has a client who is working in a clinic. They had to let some people go. They're worried about income. They're not sure what to do. And, the last thing in the world that they want to do is call their accountant and have their accountant charge them more money, even though that is the person they need to call. And so Tom decided that he would call his clients, every single one, and say, "Hi, this is Tom. I'm not going to charge you for this call. In fact, I'm going to offer you some free services. Because right now, as you know, there's a new law passed that enables you to get money, and I will help you get this money for free." Amazing. Now, what does that mean? It means that although this is a technical issue that Tom can help them with, in fact, the more important thing is about relationships. All right, so Tom says that 90% of our business relationship is a relationship and only 10% is technical. All right? Now, how do we wrap all this together in a simple and easy to use tool? Well, we bring all these things together in this little tool that my client and I created yesterday or a couple days ago. Must have been 2 days ago because it says up here last edited 2 days ago. All right, so it's a client outreach form. All right, first now also I'd like to invite Hugh to take a look at this as well, because right now the next step for Hugh and I is to think more deeply about the people that he is serving, so his clients, his peers, and also his providers. Now here you can write your client company. All right, so my client company is Apple, and the client name is Tim, and I got Microsoft, and the client name is Bill. And well, let's say I have let's say I got two client names in Apple. We got Tim and Steve. All right, so we got in Apple we got two client names in Apple and one client name in Microsoft. Next is to describe the relationship. All right, so me and Tim, we're old friends. Um, and we sometimes talk about family. Steve and I, we just talk about business, only business. And Bill and I, um, we're friends, but rarely talk. All right. Now, how can we improve this relationship? Now, you see the point here is that if 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 90%, if actually 90% of our business is relationships, all right, so we're in the middle of a crisis and businesses have to start cutting ties. They have to start reducing budgets. Who are they going to actually pay? All right, so we're worried, we're concerned with getting paid now and also getting paid in the future. All right, so what can we do to improve this relationship? All right, so and Tom's idea was to offer free services. All right. Now, obviously, these companies, if you offer them something for free, then they will know that you have their back, and that they can have an even closer relationship with you. So we're going to offer Tim some free services. Steve, we're going to, what are we going to do for Steve? We're going to give him some, we're going to give him a reduced rate for our services. Now, of course, we don't want to get fired and we don't want to be cut from their budget. So let's give them a reduced rate and then they will appreciate our services. And, you know, we're friends. Let's send a bottle of, well, PG-13 channel. So we're going to send a bottle of water and some chocolate. Okay. We're going to send him a gift. All right. So those are 3 things I could do to improve that relationship. Next, what I can do, call and ask about problems they're facing. All right, so obviously if I want to improve that relationship, the next thing I can do is give them a call. Hey, Tim, what's going on? How's your family? Okay, because we know that we're old friends and sometimes we talk about family. Hey, Tim, I'd like to offer you some free services. Really like to be on your side during this time of hardship. And can you tell me about some of the problems that you're facing? Maybe I can help. All right, so then as you can see, Tim's going to tell me about some of his problems, Steve's going to tell me about some of his problems, and Bill is going to tell me about some of his problems. All right, and now my focus is going to be that after our phone call, I need to come up with some solutions. All right, so for example, with Hugh, we had an interview, and now I have the chance to come up with some solutions. I need to help him to plan for the next 3 and 6 months. That's the next step. Find some solutions for the next 3 to 6 months. Next, our next steps. All right, and then after we've decided about what the solutions are going to be, then we need to define the next steps to provide those solutions. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. What are those actual steps? 1, 2, 1, 2. Every single time. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so make a plan for specifically how you're going to help these clients. Get into their lives. Provide free services. Give discounts. See if there's some other way you can help them. All right, and then decide on the next steps to improve those relationships. All right, so we've already described the relationship. We've discussed how to improve that relationship. We've found out some of the problems that our clients are facing. And we've come up with some solutions for the next 3 to 6 months. We've written down the next steps to provide those solutions. And then we can think about the future for next steps to improve relationships. All right, so in 3 months from now, in 4 months from now, maybe we need to call once per week. But for Bill, maybe we just call once per month. Maybe we need to send him another box of chocolates next month or a birthday card. All right, maybe Steve, we can send him the early release of our product. All right? And then think about what's the vision of our relationship over the next 2 years? What's the vision? Okay, so we want to become the sole provider. We want to sell products to them in other areas of their business. We want to develop a new product in a partnership. All right, so have a vision. Now, if you go back to the original state synergies checklist, you'll remember, if you go back to the state synergies checklist, you'll remember that serving clients is one aspect of an area that you need to think about. And that's the state synergies checklist is the top item of the state progress checklist. All right, here, reuses. All right, now instead of going through all the deep details about what does it mean, what are reuses, what are the endeavor elements, what is the state synergies checklist, how do they all fit, how do they fit within this? How do they fit within this model? Instead of going into all those details, when you're working with your customer, or sorry, when you're working with your staff, your employees, you don't have to tell them any of the reasons behind why this is important. You just tell them, here's a tool that you can use. It's a tool called client outreach form. And then when your boss says, hey, we're having a meeting this Friday, and what are you going to talk about at the meeting? You can say, well, I created a tool called the client outreach form, and I've asked my staff to make a list of their clients. And then next to the list of clients, I've asked them to write down the names. I've asked them to describe the relationships, and I've also asked them to think of ways to improve that relationship. Before Friday, they will have called the top 3 customers on their list, and they will have asked them what problems they're facing. So on Friday when we meet, they're going to discuss the problems that each of their clients are facing, and in our meeting, we can talk about some of the solutions that we can offer to those clients. After we've talked about the solutions, during the meeting, for each of those clients, we're going to hammer out the next steps to provide the solutions to each of those clients. In addition, we're going to brainstorm about the next steps for improving those relationships. Then, within the next week, I'm going to follow up with each of my employees on my team, and we're going to talk about the vision that they have for the relationship with each of those clients over the next 2 years. Of course, I want to give them a week or 2 weeks to think about it, so that they have time to call those employees or those clients, and also discuss the next steps with those clients. And so they can also get a feel for how they can improve that relationship. So in 2 weeks from now, we can have another meeting, and the guys on my team are going to be able to present their vision for each of those clients over the next 2 years. So, here we are. So I'm going to leave a link to both the video, the CPA Tom Wheelwright's video, and also I'm going to leave a link to this client outreach form so that you can download the link. Well, you can connect to the Google form, then take a copy of the form, and then do whatever you want to it, so that you can send it to your team and have them do the same thing. This is a fantastic tool that you can use that we've created from the direct outcomes checklists, and I think that it's something to help you become more proactive during this difficult time and capture more market share when some of the other firms are going to be having a more difficult time with their programs. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and I look forward to seeing you next time.